Could that be due to the nature of his ability? Maybe. But the real twist? Subi, the guy everyone's whispering about, isn't just bluffing, he's turning the entire academy into his stage. His illusions, his fake feats, even his prophecies are becoming real, and no one knows if he's a mastermind or a monster. Class F is rising, enemies are circling, and somewhere in the smoke, a killer with a mark stalks those bound to fate. Fenglan can't decide if he's salvation or doom, Lan Subing's icy shell is cracking, and Wu Mingbai is digging too deep. When reality starts rewriting itself faster than the manga pages can turn, only one thing's certain: Subi isn't just a player in this story anymore. He might be the author. Do you buy into Subei's claim that there's a destiny compass floating above everyone's heads? Because honestly, I feel like not everything he says is fully true, more like half-truths. Maybe there is something up there, but a compass? If there really is one controlling us, wouldn't messing with it cause some major chaos? I agree. His words often feel like half-truths, but this part doesn't seem like something he'd make up. Sure, tampering with the destiny compass could affect us, but this newbie ability user? I doubt he's strong enough for that yet. You know, I've been wondering too. Both Fenglan and Subi ended up in Class F. Subi probably came because of Zhang, but what about Fenglan? Was he really sent to recruit Subi like the homeroom teacher said? Honestly, I think they both came for Jiang Tianming and his group. After all, they're the main characters, so it makes sense they'd get some special treatment. Season's heating up and the fandom's on fire. Number 23s. Tired of the classic love triangle reruns and smells. Fresh ships on the horizon. While number 24 throws down chips on the chaos train. Su-Bix, Jiang Tianming, aka the unlucky fate disaster couple talk about drama potential. But Cilantro no, 30 ain't having any of it, pulling the emergency brake on the thread's derailment. Meanwhile, number 31 dives back into plot mode, analyzing manga lore with friends and suggesting that two eerily similar characters might either be power twins or authorial copy-paste. Number 32 nods in agreement, and just like that, the debate veers from shipping wars to prophecy, logic classic comic forum chaos. If it's really one of these possibilities, I hope it's the former, because watching handsome guys kill each other? Tragic. Su-Bei scrolls past the thread no new intel, just recycled theory and lands on a hot post practically screaming for his attention, saluting the unluckiest soul of the generation. It's him, again, trending. In an inch longer, an inch stronger, no point oh, fans explode. Ah, so handsome. That purple gold collision? Chef's kiss. Declaring this my favorite line of the year. The art? Still killer. Subei's fashion? Lethal. He's got shallow fans now, heart-skipping beats at every panel. Number 1 chimed in like a declaration of war, so handsome I could die. And number 2 backed it up with a virtual swoon. Looks like Subei's not just faking greatness anymore. He's becoming the story's shining anomaly, the glitch in fate, and the internet's latest heartthrob. So many hotties on screen this season. It's basically illegal each dude radiates main character energy. Brooding stares, smug grins, and mysterious backstories included. The girls? Equally dazzling. From Lost in the Hall's cuties to dangerously charming teachers. It's like the artist said, let me flex real quick, and unleashed a beauty parade. But wait, wasn't there some cryptic forum post hinting that this arc would introduce major players? Seems like the story's leveling up hard. And hold up, am I the only one side-eyeing Su-Bei? Dude's got that suspiciously perfect vibe tube panels in, and he's already screaming hidden boss energy. Something tells me he's not just another pretty face standing in the hallway. The conversation heats up as suspicions swirl around Subei's true nature. While some think he's a shadowy figure with an unknown agenda, others believe he's just enjoying the chaos he's causing. As the rumors spread and his predictions seem too accurate to be coincidence, people start to wonder if he's a prophet or hiding a darker side. But for those who've already invested in his story, one betrayal could be the breaking point. Whether he's manipulating his way through the academy or really a villain in disguise, Subei's growing influence is undeniable. And in the midst of it all, a mysterious killer with an ominous symbol stalks the shadows, making the stakes even higher. As alliances form and break, the line between fate and free will gets blurrier by the day. Keep watching, things are about to get intense. Hold on, guys. We haven't even figured out if he's the bad guy yet, so why are you all arguing? To be honest, something about him just doesn't sit right with me. He's got this creepy vibe. Exactly. These threads have been full of people going back and forth for over 10 replies, and here I am, completely lost. Why is no one talking about the question in the title? I thought this was supposed to be a discussion thread, but all you're doing is going in circles. +1, +2, +3. In this twisted arc of King of Abilities, Gears of Destiny, Subei's game of smoke and mirrors escalates as he fakes feats, fabricates rumors, and somehow keeps predicting the future a little too accurately, turning him from school oddball into suspected prophet or villain. As Class F claws its way up the ranks, a killer wrapped in mist starts erasing those marked by strange manga symbol signs. Subi recognizes all too well. While Lan Subing's icy mask begins to thaw and Feng Lan wrestles with visions that warn against trusting him, Wu Mingbai grows sharper, sniffing out Subei's carefully buried truths. Then bam! An upperclassman strikes, forcing Subi to show off his mastermind moves without ever lifting a finger. But just as he thinks he's ahead of the plot, the story flips. Pages of the manga change before reality does, and Subi might not be the author of fate anymore. He might just be the next target. Subei's role remains that of an observant manipulator, thriving in the chaos around him. He masterfully sows rumors about his background, making others believe in his immense power, all while staying in the shadows, subtly pulling the strings. Despite a series of unexpected twists, including mysterious assassins and a shifting plot, Subi continues to control the narrative, making others believe he's either a genius or a villain. His eerie predictions and seemingly flawless manipulation of events raise doubts and tension among his peers. With every calculated move, Subi blurs the lines between fate and free will, drawing those around him deeper into his web of deception. As the world around him begins to fracture and twist like a manga come to life, it's clear Subi isn't just a bystander. He's the one rewriting the rules. Is it a reminder, a warning, or a threat? If he's just an observer, then staying silent would be enough. No need to say something like that. But if we follow suggestion no, 89, Subi definitely has an agenda. The question is, which side is he on? Long post above, I'll go with what they said. If Subi really has a stance, I don't think we should limit it to just good or bad. After all, the world isn't black and white. Maybe he's with a third party? Wow, a third party force? Wouldn't that be even cooler? Oh, you're really consistent, facepalm with a bitter smile. Look what I found. I found him buried in the corner like an afterthought. Subi shadowed on the promo page, like some discarded side character, but that's no coincidence. This sly mastermind who fakes power, manipulates tropes, and puppeteers fate from the background wouldn't want the spotlight. The promotional neglect just adds fuel to the fire. Is he really the hero or a lurking villain waiting to twist the plot? Chapters 11 to 20 escalate the Chaos Class F rising, killers cloaked in smoke, marks of destiny etched on skin, and reality itself bending like a misprinted manga page. The deeper Subi plays the part, the more the script unravels saying maybe, just maybe, he's not acting anymore. In a shadowy corner of the promotional page, there's Subi, barely visible. Why so hidden? A key figure in the plot, yet given only a tiny spot? This speaks volumes. Could it be that Subi isn't as heroic as we thought? The placement so dark, so obscure makes him seem almost suspicious, doesn't it? I can't help but wonder if the creators are subtly hinting at something darker, something the plot doesn't want us to see just yet. This whole small picture, hidden in the shadows, feels more like a clue than a coincidence, and now I'm more intrigued than ever. What's really going on with Subi? Is he the protagonist we're rooting for, or is there something more sinister beneath the surface? She quickly finished her last bite and stood up, ready to leave this place where she had just socially embarrassed herself. But just as she was about to walk away, a guy swiftly approached and asked in a low voice, "Were you just talking about Subi?" Her head snapped around, their eyes locking, and an electric tension filled the air. A kindred spirit, perhaps? Meanwhile, in the manga world, Subi grinned as he read a post that amused him. Not only did it hint at his villainous identity, but it also sparked new ideas for his character. Initially, his plan had been to navigate the fine line between good and evil. But now, he thought, why not explore the intriguing gray area in between? Maybe he could even use the forum to create a third-party faction, blending black and white together. As class time neared, Subi closed the forum for now. Discussions were flowing, just as he had hoped, no need for his interference. With the last bit of time he had, he quickly posted something he'd prepared in advance. In the shadowy depths of Class F, Subi has a unique advantage. Unlike others, he's not just sitting back, watching the story unfold, he's in the driver's seat. His predictions, made under the guise of a prophet, have been disturbingly accurate. With his keen eye, he catches details others overlook, from Fenglan, the one tied to fate, to Zhao Xiaoyu, the mysterious first introduction, all the way to the unassuming teacher Meng Wai. The world around him may not see it yet, but Subi knows something others don't, as a puppet master pulling invisible strings. Even if some of his prophecies don't play out exactly as he predicts, no worries. Subi is clever enough to rewrite the narrative, bringing his chosen characters into the spotlight, bending the plot to his will. And as he teases his next prediction, a sinister undertone lingers. Who is the killer lurking in the shadows? The gears of destiny are turning, and Sue BEI is ready to set them in motion. In a shadowy corner of the promotional page, there's Sue BEI, barely visible. Why so hidden? A key figure in the plot, yet given only a tiny spot? This speaks volumes. Could it be that Sue BEI isn't as heroic as we thought? The placement so dark, so obscure makes him seem almost suspicious, doesn't it? I can't help but wonder if the creators are subtly hinting at something darker, something the plot doesn't want us to see just yet. This whole small picture, hidden in the shadows, feels more like a clue than a coincidence, and now I'm more intrigued than ever. What's really going on with Sue BEI? Is he the protagonist we're rooting for? Or is there something more sinister beneath the surface? With two seemingly innocent posts as bait, Sue BEI silently set the gears of chaos in motion. Misinformation now, his favorite tool of war. Not bothering to monitor the reactions, he vanished from the scene, leaving behind seeds meant to sprout confusion. If he'd had more accounts, he would have attacked himself just to tighten the illusion. Back in class, the air stiffened as a man in black Meng strode in like a villain entering the final panel. I'm your ability practice teacher. No intros needed. His voice sliced through the silence, eyes scanning like sensors. First, class monitor. Mutir needs you. Objections? None came. The boy was a quiet hero from yesterday, and this was Class F, not a cutthroat nest like Class A. Meng Huai's grin curled darkly as he read off names, his tone promising pain. No, 20 laps. Please don't expel me. The others joined in, pleading desperately. Seeing their earnest desperation, some of the students felt compelled to speak up. Yet Meng Huai remained cold, using the moment to make an example of them. Stop acting like victims. The school's advice is for your own good, he continued. Being an ability user is a perilous path. All ability users attract the attention of the nightmares. Even those in F class, if they overuse their abilities, will eventually draw the nightmares. Even a small mosquito is a target. The school gathers you here to teach you, to minimize the casualties among ability users. It was common knowledge that the ability use license was crucial to their survival. This institution was more than just a school, it was a sanctuary for those who had given up on conventional life. Unlike other students, your self-protection capabilities are limited. You must rely on yourselves. For your safety, obey your teacher and train diligently. It should be your unwavering rule. The moment those words dropped, a wave of embarrassment hit the students who had slacked off. They hadn't thought it through. 10 laps just seemed like too much, and they couldn't hold back. Instead of letting you mess around and get your ability use license, only to bring harm upon yourselves and others, it's better to suggest you withdraw now and avoid disaster, came the stern voice. No sugarcoating here, Meng Huai wasn't in the mood for excuses. All right, pack up and leave the classroom. If you want to come back, talk to the principal. But Meng Huai knew the deal. The principal had already made up his mind about this whole withdrawal thing. Students who couldn't deal with nightmares had no business being in the school. It was a waste of space and energy, and everyone knew it. One by one, the F-class students filed out, too intimidated by Meng Huai's presence to argue. When they were gone, he went right back to business. No warnings, no drama, just a sharp command. Now, use your abilities. Pay attention to what you lose when you do. The lesson had begun, and no one was getting off easy. Sue BEI, feeling the drain from yesterday's use of his abilities, casually summoned a simple gear and turned to Feng Lan, intrigued by her prophetic abilities. He was eager to see how her power worked in action. Meanwhile, Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing observed from behind, confused by the plain gear on Su Bei's desk, comparing it to the impressive ones from the previous day. The difference was stark. Feng Lan, undeterred by the presence of others, prepared to use her ability. She closed her eyes, clasped her hands together, and a faint white glow surrounded her. After a moment, she opened her eyes, and a golden flash vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving her looking drained, her skin even paler than before. I saw a quarrel during this class, she said. Sue BEI, taken aback, quickly asked, a fight between a student and the teacher, or between students? But Feng Lan merely shook her head, leaving him puzzled about what her vision truly meant. He had just begun to tap into his newfound power and still struggled to master it. This time, I only predicted the event and the time. Sue BEI wasn't disappointed when he heard this. Instead, he put on a knowing expression and said, no worries, everyone goes through this. This casual response made Feng Lan pause, and then she asked the very question Sue BEI had been waiting for. Everyone? Do you know other prophecy users? Chapter 17. Sue BEI hesitated briefly, then lowered his gaze and shook his head. No, I meant it's normal for new ability users to be unskilled. It's understandable that your prediction wasn't perfect. Feng Lan didn't probe further, and Su Bei said no more, turning his attention elsewhere. He had said that on purpose, hoping to make Feng Lan think that his ability might be linked to prophecy. At first, Su Bei hadn't intended to flaunt his abilities in front of Feng Lan, since she wasn't the main character. After all, sticking close to the protagonist meant more screen time. Performing in front of others seemed like a waste. But after reading the latest manga update, he changed his mind. Who said only the protagonist could grab the spotlight? Meng Huai was the perfect example. In a shadowy corner of the promotional page, there's Su Bei, barely visible. Why so hidden? A key figure in the plot, yet given only a tiny spot? This speaks volumes. Could it be that Su Bei isn't as heroic as we thought? The placement so dark, so obscure makes him seem almost suspicious, doesn't it? I can't help but wonder if the creators are subtly hinting at something darker, something the plot doesn't want us to see just yet. This whole small picture, hidden in the shadows, feels more like a clue than a coincidence, and now I'm more intrigued than ever. What's really going on with Su Bei? Is he the protagonist we're rooting for, or is there something more sinister beneath the surface? Remember, no matter how exhausted you feel, it's all just an illusion. You've got more strength than you think. Push through, get up, and run. Got it? This survival tip was the key to breaking through your limits. Everyone, fired up and convinced, shouted in unison, "Got it!" Meng Huai, satisfied with their response, was about to continue when his phone buzzed a message. As the homeroom teacher, he kept his notifications off during class, only letting through important messages. After reading it, he glanced at the others and said, "Now, exhaust yourselves to the limit. Feel the difference between this and true physical fatigue." With that, he walked out of the classroom, leaving everyone with a lot to think about. Su Bei, observing his actions, raised an eyebrow. Something didn't sit right, just like Feng Lan's cryptic words from earlier. Was the so-called quarrel about to ignite? Was it going to turn into a clash between Meng Huai and someone else? Just as Su Bei was about to ask Feng Lan for his thoughts, his gaze landed on Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing, who were sneaking toward him while the teacher was absent. What were they up to? Confused, Su Bei's attention shifted to the gear on his desk, and his expression shifted with realization. He had let his guard slip. Usually, he summoned basic gears when using his ability. So when the teacher asked them to demonstrate their skills, he instinctively summoned a standard gear. But his public persona wasn't built on gear set, was based on fate. Summoning an ordinary gear like that was a huge mistake. Judging by their actions, it seemed like Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing were about to confront him about this. What should he do? How could he cover up this flaw without raising suspicion? If the protagonist group started doubting his abilities, then the readers, seeing things from their perspective, might begin questioning his powers as well. He had to maintain the illusion of his transformation for it to succeed, and that meant keeping their belief intact. Things were getting tricky. If anyone started questioning the situation, it could spiral out of control. Even if Su Bei could clear up the confusion later, it would still slow him down. Inside, his mind was racing, but on the outside, he kept his cool. Just as expected, Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing showed up, and the black-haired boy eyed the gear suspiciously. "Why does this look so different from yesterday's?" he asked. Su Bei, leaning back with his chin resting on his hand, smirked and lazily replied, "Why should I answer that? Isn't that part of after-sales service?" Jiang Tianming shot back, recovering quickly. "We made a legit trade yesterday, and now you're giving me a faulty product?" Su Bei's smile didn't waver. He wasn't going to deny it, knowing he needed this opportunity to explain himself. "Because it's missing something," he said, his gaze sweeping over them. "Missing what?" they asked. And the game continued. Meng Huai's solo scene wasn't just about critiquing the protagonist. He took jabs at everyone, didn't he? Su Bei definitely learned a lot from that moment, and probably so did the readers, picking up on Meng Huai's way of predicting things. Then it hit him impressions matter. The side characters, especially the important ones, couldn't be ignored. They had to leave a mark, just like the protagonist. When two characters make strong impressions, they get talked about together. Fast forward to the classroom, and after everyone used their abilities, Meng Huai asked, "Did you feel any loss of power?" The usual scattered answers filled the room, but no one really took it seriously. But then Meng Huai hit them with a curveball. "That's mental energy, not physical energy. You're not drained, just tricked into thinking you are." Su Bei, caught off guard, stared with surprise as it dawned on him. He hadn't even considered that there was more to it. Meng Huai went on loud and clear. "So when you think you're out of power on the battlefield, remember, you can still escape." A tense scene unfolded as teachers gathered around, with Wu Mingbai clearly at the center of it all. The door swung open, and without hesitation, the two students charged in, ignoring the wide-eyed stares of their classmates. I was the one who pushed him. If anyone's to blame, it's me. They didn't even touch him, so why are you going after them? Wu Mingbai's voice rang out, full of frustration. Almost immediately, a calm voice intervened. Please, ma'am, we understand your grief over Sunday Ming's death, but the evidence, including surveillance footage, shows that the students had no involvement. Please, try to stay calm. Before she could finish, another frantic voice exploded. Calm down! How can I? My child, who I raised with so much love, came here for just one day and now he's dead. You will all pay for this. And just as quickly, a cold, mocking voice cut in. Humph, we will avenge Ming Ming. In a world where destiny is manipulated like a puppet strings, Su Bei continues his game of illusion, weaving a web of rumors and false feats while a deadly shadow lurks nearby, claiming lives with the flicker of a strange symbol. As tension rises within Endless Ability Academy, Subei's flawless predictions make him seem like a profiter, a villain in disguise. When a rogue upperclassman targets Class F, Su Bei plays the puppeteer, pulling invisible strings and making his enemies dance to his tune without lifting a finger. But as his story fractures and reality bends, a killer marked by smoke hunts those who stray from the script, and Subei's grip on the narrative begins to slip. With alliances shifting and suspicions growing, the line between friend and foe blurs, and Su Bei must outwit all who dare to challenge him, even if it means facing a fate that's no longer written in his manga. A few seconds after stepping outside, a voice called out, "What are you two doing? Get back here!" But the duo stayed put, firmly by Wu Mingbai's side. Frustrated, Menghuai rolled his eyes and stormed back to the classroom, shooting a fierce look at the curious student. With a sharp bang, he slammed the door shut, cutting off the noise from outside. The classroom erupted in chatter as the students discussed what they'd overheard. Those who had been in the cafeteria the previous day filled in the rest, explaining how Wu Mingbai and his friends had discovered the crime and passed a lie detector test. The students sympathized, calling it an innocent disaster, and felt powerless against the unreasonable parents. Sitting at his desk, Su Bei sighed. He had known this would eventually involve the protagonist group, but not like this. Then, he felt someone watching him. Looking up, he saw the class monitor, Mu Tiran, staring at him with curiosity. As their gazes met, he didn't flinch but stepped forward with a confident stride. "You heard the gossip outside, right?" he asked, his voice carrying a sharp edge. "If you weren't deaf, it's hard to miss." Subi stayed silent, intrigued by what was coming next. Mu Tiran, clearly not fond of the rumors, spoke with slight disdain. "This might seem blunt, but do you have a way to deal with people like that?" His question felt sudden, especially considering they had hardly exchanged words. Yet, given their mutual interest, it was hardly a shock. Su Bei chuckled lightly. "Of course I do!" Dealing with scoundrels was his specialty after all. Mu Tiran's eyes lit up, but before he could say more, a curious voice interrupted. "But why ask me?" The blonde boy in the corner questioned. Mu Tiran was blunt. "I remember you telling Jiang Tianming yesterday he's the unluckiest guy alive. Funny how that stuck with me." It seems someone had been paying attention to more than just the present. Despite his tough exterior, Mu Tiran was surprisingly perceptive. At first, he didn't think much of what Su Bei had said to Jiang Tianming. It just seemed like a passing comment. But after witnessing the events unfold around Jiang Tianming, Mu Tiran couldn't shake the feeling that Su Bei's words were more than just random musings. After all, finding a dead body in the middle of a crowded cafeteria, then being harassed by the victim's unreasonable family, it was nothing short of the worst luck. If Su Bei had predicted this, maybe there was a way to fix it. Su Bei, ever the trickster, leaned back in his chair, a playful grin dancing on his lips. "I was just kidding," he said lazily. "But don't you think his black hair and eyes make him look like a villain from a novel?" His expression turned almost regretful. Who would have thought he'd be the victim instead? Though his reasoning sounded unconvincing, Mu Tiran said nothing more, his gaze drifting toward the door, worry creeping into his thoughts. "I wonder if they'll be able to handle this," he muttered. It was clear that even if Su Bei had a solution, he wasn't exactly the type to offer help. Su Bei caught the concern in his eyes and considered it quietly. "You're really a caring class monitor." 2 days. That's how long they'd known each other. But Mu Tiran was already showing a level of care that caught everyone off guard. Was it just his personality, or was there something more beneath the surface? He scratched his head, a grin spreading across his face as he shrugged. "Well, I am the class monitor after all." As Mu Tiran left, Feng Lan gave Su Bei a look, something on her mind. "You seem different just now," she noted. Su Bei paused, momentarily distracted by his phone, and turned to her. "Different how?" he asked, genuinely curious. Feng Lan hesitated, then shook her head. "I'm not sure, I just felt it." Su Bei smirked, though he knew Feng Lan wasn't wrong. He had acted differently. But then again, sometimes you have to step out of your usual mold to make an impact. Maybe it was because the scene with Meng Huai earlier felt like it belonged in a manga, and to stand out in a world like this, sometimes you just had to play the part. The air was thick with tension as Subi stood by, his eyes glinting with intrigue. A conversation was unfolding behind his back, and while he wasn't directly involved, it wasn't just idle gossip of the speakers. Was Mutirin, someone Subi suspected had a bigger role to play in the narrative ahead. The school bell rang, breaking the moment, and the duo, Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing, finally appeared, though they weren't exactly in high spirits. Lan Subing's anger was palpable. Subi, ever the strategist, flashed a smile and stepped closer. Care to share what happened, he asked. Curiosity piqued. Jiang Tianming looked ready to brush it off, but then something shifted in his eyes. Was that hint you dropped yesterday connected to this? He asked. Subi shrugged, playing coy. I'm not sure, but maybe you should tell me what went down? After a brief exchange of glances between Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing, he relented. All right, I'll fill you in. Soon, Subi knew the whole story. It turned out the parents of Sunday Ming, the deceased, were wealthy, their fortune on par with the Lan families. The plot thickened. In a world where every step feels like a calculated move, one couple's grief sends them spiraling into madness after the death of their only child. Their search for the truth, fueled by rage, becomes a twisted pursuit, and the helpless Wu Mingbai is caught in their crosshairs. With no solid evidence and the law offering no protection, it's only a matter of time before the couple strikes, unless the academy can unearth the killer within 2 weeks. Jiang Tianming, seething with anger, speaks of their plight, his words drenched in frustration. Meanwhile, Subi watches his lips twitching as the situation unfolds, cursed by fate and mistaken for part of a much larger, cruel plot. Their misery is like that of doctors blamed for a death they had no control over, and yet they are trapped in a deadly game they never asked to play. What's the plan now? Subi asked, her voice dripping with a sympathy that was as detached as it was passive. Both of them looked at each other, frustration evident on their faces. If they weren't still figuring out who Subi was, Jiang Tianming would have rolled his eyes. What else can we do? We'll have to work with the school to catch the culprit. Since the discovery of the body, the school had been sealed off by a barrier created by powerful espers. Nothing could get in or out, not even a fly. So, even if the killer could transform into smoke, they were still trapped inside. Subi raised an eyebrow, her tone laced with skepticism. Is that all? As she spoke, she whispered mentally, calling upon her manga awareness. Manga awareness, are you there? Can't the protagonist take revenge instead? The response was instant. This is a shonen manga. If the protagonist goes too far, it will hurt the manga's popularity. So, it means they can do something, right? Subi smirked. Jiang Tianming froze, his face contorting with confusion. What do you mean? He asked, his voice tinged with frustration. Then, with a deep sigh, he added, what else can we do? He understood what Subi was hinting at was compromising their only option in the face of the couple's threats. But truth be told, it was the only option left. The Sun family was too powerful, and as mere orphans, they stood no chance. Outside the Academy's protective walls, they'd be finished. The Lan family could compete, but it would end in mutual destruction. As long as the Sun family didn't target Lan Subing, her family wouldn't intervene. After all, Jiang Tianming and Wu Mingbai were just minor players in this grand scheme. Subei's voice broke the silence, his words deliberate. The Sunday family isn't just a rich name. They run a huge business, and that couple you saw earlier holds the top 2 spots in the company. It was the kind of info Subi had quickly pulled up on his phone. Corporate giants like the Sun family had their details public. The truth was, they were far out of reach. Jiang Tianming was perplexed, while Lan Subing's eyes sparkled with an intense thought. Subi casually dropped more public information. The school's on lockdown to make sure the culprit doesn't escape. Only entries allowed, no exits. Sun's parents requested to stay at the school for at least 2 weeks, maybe longer. Jiang Tianming started to piece it together, but Lan Subing, with her sharp training, raised a surprised eyebrow. Are you suggesting? Subi waved her off, brushing aside her question, and returned to his seat. Just then, Manga Awareness jumped in, urgent and panicked. Why stir things up? If the protagonist group messes up, the manga's popularity will tank. If the author halts a series, it's bad for you too. It grasped Subei's intentions. Clearly, 2 pieces of info had just connected into one. Sun's family was now leaderless. Without their connection to the outside world, their business would crumble. If Subi dug up the right dirt now, he could strike a fatal blow, maybe even bankrupt them. That's why Manga Awareness was in a rush. This manga is a true shonen masterpiece, and you can't expect the protagonist team to be playing dirty. But let's face it, in the world of shonen, the hero's gotta keep it clean or risk losing their shine. Take Subi EI for instance. He might act all innocent when he says, "Who said we're doing anything bad?" But come on, we know he's got a plan up his sleeve. If we dig into the Sun family's shady past, it's practically a public service, he claims with that signature sly grin, and then as if on cue, manga awareness catches on. Oh, he's not just talking about gossip. He's talking about going deep into the murky waters to uncover illegal deeds. And it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? A couple that struts around, bullying students, threatening anyone who gets in their way, they're bound to have some skeletons in their closet. So yeah, why not? Dig deep enough and you're bound to hit gold or, well, the truth. It's all about that sweet, sweet retribution, and trust me, fans will love it. A perfectly executed plan for justice, wrapped in just the right amount of shonen flair. With a slight pause, Manga Awareness finally asked, "What's in it for you?" The original story had the protagonist group finding the culprit, leading to Sun's parents apologizing in tears. Subi EI, though unsure of the exact ending, had a good idea of where it might lead. But truthfully, none of that mattered much to him. From what Manga Awareness observed, Subi EI seemed like someone only interested in personal gain. So, why was he pushing the group to seek revenge on Sun's parents? "If the mountain won't come to me, I'll go to the mountain. I've already used most of the info I had before. If I don't do this, how will I get more manga screen time?" Subi EI replied, as if it was the most obvious answer. What he didn't mention, however, was that this was just a quick excuse. The real reason? He simply couldn't stand how those parents acted. After all, with his own parents being soldiers, how could he not feel the pull of justice? After their earlier separation, Jiang Tianming noticed Wu Mingbai's mood had dropped. Though Wu wore a smile, the shadows in his eyes were impossible to miss. He was no saint, and discovering a body in the cafeteria, followed by a retaliatory attack from the victim's family, had surely ignited his fury. They hadn't approached him directly, sensing his anger needed time to cool while they planned their next steps. Now, with a strategy in place, they sought to update him. On the sports field, Wu Mingbai's energy surged as he exclaimed, "This is brilliant! If it goes well, we can bankrupt those scum and maybe even send them to prison. Who thought of this?" Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing exchanged glances before answering, "Subi EI. He's the one who gave us the idea." At that, Wu Mingbai's enthusiasm waned, replaced by suspicion. "Subi EI? Why would he? Jiang, did you make another deal with him?" Jiang Tianming simply shook his head, still confused by the turn of events. Earlier, as they parted, Jiang Tianming noticed Wu Mingbai wasn't himself. Despite the smile plastered on his face, the sadness in his eyes was hard to miss. Wu Mingbai was never one to hide his emotions well, and the discovery of a dead body in the cafeteria combined with the retaliation from the family of the deceased left him furious. That's why, instead of confronting him immediately, they decided to give him some space to cool off. But now, with a solid plan in hand, they knew it was time to talk. On the sports field, Wu Mingbai's energy seemed to bounce back. His eyes lit up with excitement. "This is a brilliant idea. If we do this right, we could bankrupt those scumbags and send them to prison. Who came up with it?" Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing exchanged a look. "Subi EI. It was Subi EI who gave us the idea." As soon as they mentioned his name, Wu Mingbai's enthusiasm faded a little. "Sube, why would he? Jiang, did you strike another deal with him?" Jiang Tianming shook his head, still trying to piece things together. "Well, it looks like he's returning the favor," Lan Subing mused. "We told him everything that happened, and he shared some crucial advice. Sounds like it matches the deal we had, right?" "Yeah, that makes sense." Jiang Tianming's eyes lit up with realization. He had shared the details with Subi, thinking they might need help later, but this? A pleasant surprise. "But no matter how you look at it, I still owe him," Wu Mingbai said with rare seriousness, dropping his usual pretense. He wasn't someone who took favors lightly. Actions spoke louder than words, and Subei's advice, no matter his intentions, had proven invaluable. For Wu Mingbai, revenge on Sun's parents was worth more than knowing the identity of the culprit. Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing nodded in agreement, understanding what Wu Mingbai meant. With everything out in the open, there was no time to waste. "We have a plan, but now we need precise steps," Jiang Tianming said. "Subing, reach out to your family and see if the Sun family's company is involved in anything illegal, like tax evasion. That's an easy way to put them behind bars. But remember, we can't let them know we're onto them. Let's keep investigating, and finding the real culprit is the best case scenario." Wu Mingbai's eyes gleamed with a sharp glint. "There's one more thing. We need to steal their phones, cut off their communication with the outside world completely. If they still had access to outside connections, they could still manipulate the situation. The real trick was ensuring these key figures couldn't get any information in time to react. It didn't matter if their phones were taken, they could always borrow someone else's. The key was making sure they couldn't be contacted immediately when things were set in motion. Time was their greatest weapon. The tension builds as the group hatches a careful plan. The two of them, initially unsure, soon agree to Jiang Tianming's strategy. No rush, he says. They've still got bodyguards. Let's first figure out how many phones they have, then we'll make our move. If we stay discreet, their company won't catch on. Once they do, we'll snatch those phones. The plan takes shape as they split up. Jiang Tianming seeks out a teacher to arrange some leave, while Lan Subing negotiates with her parents, and Wu Mingbai digs into the phone situation. Meanwhile, Meng Huai, caught in his office, isn't surprised when Jiang Tianming knocks. Here for leave, he asks? Jiang Tianming nods, explaining that with everything going on, focusing on class is impossible. They need to act fast and solve. This asking for leave is the first step. The Class D teacher considers this carefully, weighing the situation. I understand you're anxious to uncover the culprit and the school is working on it. No need to stress too much. Even though Sun's parents set a 2-week deadline, the school can offer protection for up to 2 years. As long as we identify the culprit within that time, they shouldn't hold it against you. His words made sense, but Jiang Tianming couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Sure, they were safe for now, but what about the other kids in the orphanage? The school could only offer so much protection, and once they closed the doors, the real danger might slip through. By the time they identified the culprit, the orphanage could already be gone. That was a reality he couldn't accept. Plus, the school could only stay closed for 2 weeks. Once it reopened, the culprit could vanish. Even if they caught him, there was no guarantee he'd be stopped. What if Sun's parents kept coming after them? Teacher, I believe we need to find the culprit quickly, Jiang Tianming said, his voice firm. What if we bring in some detective abilities to help us investigate? Detective ability users possess special skills that make them invaluable in solving mysterious cases, like tracing the last moments of a victim or even communicating with their spirit. When Jiang Tianming hears that help is on the way, he breathes a sigh of relief. A user with spirit communication is coming soon. We'll know the culprit by the day after tomorrow, Meng Huai assures him. As much as revenge is on his mind, Jiang Tianming focuses on finding the criminal first. The Class D teacher, with a calm smile, adds, "No need to worry, it'll be resolved soon. Just attend your classes in the meantime." Everything seems to be falling into place, but the tension is far from over. The tension in the air was thick, and everyone thought it was almost over. The students, though curious, held back their question. But Subi-ei, with his ever-watchful gaze, seemed to suggest something more was at play, giving off an eerie feeling. That bad feeling became reality when the detective arrived. Unfortunately, he couldn't summon the deceased soul. With a regretful shake of his head, he explained that the ability was blocked. The question quickly followed, "What does ability blocked mean?" Wu Mingbai asked, though his innocence made it less odd. The detective, seeing no way forward, explained that no abilities could work on the deceased. He then proposed an idea. Maybe someone with the power to rewind time could help. Rewinding the events in the cafeteria could be the key to uncovering the culprit. The idea made sense, but the real problem was the wait time for a user with that special ability. It was a month out. Of course, they could skip the line, but the school wasn't going to spend extra resources on a few Class F students. And like Meng Huai pointed out earlier, as long as they found the culprit within 2 years, Jiang Tianming and the others would be safe from revenge. As for the orphans they were concerned about, no one would waste time on them. With this news, Jiang Tianming and Wu Mingbai frowned. They knew the school wouldn't be much help. What if the culprit has an ability that blocks other abilities? Jiang Tianming suggested. If that's the case, finding them should be easy. All ability users are required to register their powers, and failing to do so is a crime. If they knew the culprit's ability, identifying them would be simple. Meng Huai sighed. It's possible, but highly unlikely. Blocking abilities are rare, and the few known users are all employed and haven't left their posts. And even though the cafeteria's surveillance cameras are damaged, there are still plenty outside the cafeteria. The school buildings are designed with materials that block abilities like phasing through walls, meaning the only way into the cafeteria is through the main entrance. However, the surveillance cameras didn't capture any suspicious activity, suggesting the culprit might have an ability to avoid detection. Wu Mingbai quickly notices a flaw in the logic. If the only way in is through the main entrance, what about leaving? Meng Huai admits that leaving the cafeteria is easier, thanks to options like the back door and windows, and explains that making the materials block all exits would be too expensive. He then plays a surveillance video showing the moments before and after a student's death, where the first person to enter was Sunday Ming, followed by other students, and the footage ends when Wu Mingbai and another student arrive. Before he showed up, the cafeteria was empty, except for the kitchen staff. According to the rules, they had to leave through the back door, and there was no evidence of any rule breaking. The tension in the air thickened as the clock ticked down. Losing a sure thing was enough to sour anyone's mood. With no further leads, and the school unwilling to spend more time on the case over the next 2 weeks, it was all up to them now. Jiang Tianming finally broke the silence, his voice heavy. Since the school can't act quickly, we want 2 weeks to handle this ourselves. Unlike the education director, who decided to wait a month before addressing the issue, Meng Huai understood their frustration and nodded in agreement. All right, the Class D teacher reluctantly followed. Fine. But Wu Mingbai, you're excused from classes for 2 weeks. Just make sure to catch up afterward. To him, it didn't matter if the Class F students fell behind, they weren't going to amount to much. But the Class D students, their abilities held real potential. With the reminder fresh in his mind, Meng Huai snapped. Right, you two as well. Don't forget to catch up on your lessons over the next 2 weeks, or things could get ugly. The two exchanged a quick look as they exited, heading straight for Class F. Their best bet for answers was Su Bei, the one person who seemed to know something about the situation. Su Bei had been acting strangely recently, almost as though he was hiding something. When they entered Class F, Su Bei was as usual in his corner, but there was someone new beside him, Mo Xiaodian from Class A. A cheerful, friendly guy who'd become popular around here, even among the most standoffish of the class. Everyone loved him, except Wu Mingbai, who couldn't stop ranting about how they clashed in character. Cut it out with a little sunshine act. Lan Subing couldn't help but snap back at him, much to everyone's amusement. Back in the present, the two made their way to Su Bei, with Jiang Tianming taking the lead. Zhao Tian, we need to talk to Su Bei.